Mike Moore Media, the first place to hear Rockingham County news and information.
Our program is sponsored by Carpino Investments. On our media line, Jeff Garstka, Economic Development Director for the City of Reidsville. Jeff, hey, how are you?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I am doing just great. Always good to talk to you. You always have such good news. North Carolina is always at the top in economic development, and you're going to share with us today how Reidsville plays a big part in that.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've been doing this since 2003, basically in different communities and all in North Carolina, and I learned real quick how important the state brand is. Mm-hmm. I've seen it go from, Research Triangle Park in the 50s and 60s when they were recruiting companies before it was even hip, throughout the decades. And North Carolina has always been on the front line of economic development policy, the community college system, and obviously the geographic location is, we don't even talk about it anymore because it's just obvious.
Yeah.
Why so many companies and people, reside in the state. So it's always ranked very high and very highly regarded. And as we've seen in Reidsville from a lot of international companies, when you cross the Atlantic Ocean, it's one of the first states you can get to. And once you get here, you've got access to everywhere. So that's always been a big deal. And I like to talk about how the state actually has people deployed that work for the state or the partnership, the Economic Development Partnership, in other countries all around the world, just drumming up business and building relationships. So, but anyway, so over the last year, there were two economic development publications that we as practitioners consider very reputable, Site Selection Magazine and Business Facilities Magazine. Site Selection does an annual ranking of all the top states for business, and North Carolina and Georgia actually tied for first this last year. Mm-hmm. This came out in 2020, so I guess it would have been the previous 12 months of 2019-20. And then Business Facilities ranked North Carolina number one in its January-February issue of this year. We are not shy about tagging ourselves along with the brand of North Carolina itself, because it's by far the strongest economic development tool I've got.
Sure, yeah. And isn't it exciting to be linked in with that, number one?
It's awesome. I mean, they've been there before. They've dropped down to, you could argue that the state's economic development rankings mirrors at least one of their Class A college basketball teams on any given year. We're rarely out of the top 4 or 5, if ever. So it is exciting. And again, what I guess the purpose of what we were going to talk about a little bit today is just how does Reidsville contribute to that ranking with some of our success, as little as it may seem to some other big areas, but also what do we offer that is the reason why North Carolina continues to get ranked high, which is, tax rates and incentives and logistical highways and other things that they rank states on year over year. It's not just based on how many jobs you created in 2019. It's based on your overall climate. And there's another, Site Selection Magazine, again, does a survey of corporate executives who get involved in these types of deals on a company side, and then also these site location consultants who advise companies on location decisions, and we work with many of them on Pella, Farmina, and others. And they rank the most important factors in economic development location decisions. And so you look at those 10 factors and figure out how North Carolina fits, and then how does Reidsville fit into that puzzle as a contributing team member.
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah. Well, there are lots of pieces of that puzzle for sure. And one of the articles that you sent to me as well from Business Facilities from this issue, looking at, there was a nice write-up in there too about Reidsville. Maybe you could share some of that as well.
Yeah, so that was an opportunity. Business Facilities is one of the publications I've worked with in the past for advertising, which I don't generally do a lot of. Even in bigger cities that I've been in, print ads just, for whatever reason, weren't a big part of the marketing budget. For some people it is. But these magazines focus on industry trends and, what types of industries are growing, what's the hot market. And the the magazine gets distributed again to corporate level, C-level executives and real estate departments of big companies, and then the site location consulting group that we all try to target and get in front of. So that's really the audience, and we decided to place a full-page ad in the North Carolina section as it was the cover story in, again, the January-February issue of State of the Year. We put a nice full-page ad in there. It looked really good. I had our design team put it together. But then we got a 900-word essay to put into one of 4 different industry sections, I believe. And we chose the food processing section of why North Carolina is a great state. And with Farmina, and then prior to that, over in Eden, the Purina project, we have Dorada Foods, been here for 40 years, making chicken McNuggets. Just the history of manufacturing in general, we've proven that food processing can be a cluster that we can really continue to develop in the city and throughout the county. And, sometimes is your one strategy, I guess, anyway, and if you're in my shoes, is do you develop your, without putting all your eggs in one basket in particular, but with any particular industry, what strengths do you have that you can really attract 2 or 3 more? We don't need 15 more food processors, but 2 or 3, suddenly we've developed a need for a very specified workforce training program that RCC can employ. We're attracting people of a similar ilk and culture, and sometimes that stuff really works. And we've fielded interest from other food processing companies, so we chose to put our article in that section, talk about some of our water and sewer capacities, which are big deal for those types of companies, and just all the other advantages we have. So that was a nice opportunity for us to really get our story out there in words, not just pictures.
Sure, yeah. Great write-up, great full-page ad, too, in that publication. It looks really good. Well, there's so many success stories right there in Reidsville, and you've shared some of those with us in the past, but again, lots of benefits in coming to North Carolina and coming to Reidsville.
There is. I mean, again, our location, it's to those who know North Carolina, we really don't have to sell it too hard, because that's one of the main selling points to get North Carolina on the map to begin with, is just where it is. And where Reidsville is within the state, I mean, we're obviously very far north in the central area, but even within our own state, we've still got access to great cities and airports and beaches and mountains. So, from a business standpoint, the highway network, and again, here's where I-785 comes in. We visited with a consultant, and we're just talking about that highway infrastructure, and they weren't as up to speed on it as, maybe they thought they were. And, again, that's the kind of stuff that Senritsu Logistics, Japanese company that came in about 2 years ago, they didn't come in because of that, but one of the first visits we had with them, we showed them that map and how that interstate infrastructure, and they're distributing steel. So blue shields are essential to them. So, locations continuing to be a huge deal. And after COVID, we'll see how locations of smaller to mid-sized communities go, both from residential and industry standpoint.
Yep. Reidsville does have a real diversity in industry, manufacturing, all of that, though, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And again, you want to diversify it. You don't, as great as American Tobacco Company was for that community, for as long as it was, you can see towns who have lost their one big industry and have never come back from it. But, fortunately here we were able to diversify prior to what used to be the dominant employer, finally shuttered its doors. So, yeah, diversity is huge, and that includes residential and, assisted living facilities and movie theaters and everything else. But when it comes to industry, you can still develop around a specific cluster without putting all your eggs in one specific industry company name basket.
Yeah, sure. One of the things that not directly probably to what we're talking about here, but I pulled this out of the article. I thought it was kind of interesting. North Carolina has over 1,000 food and beverage manufacturing operations, 24 of the 50 largest food and beverage companies in the United States, right here in our state.
That's an amazing stat. I did not know that. I'd love to see that the more in depth. It doesn't surprise me. I mean, you look at down east, you've got hog farms, you've got obviously chicken processing, turkey processing, and things like that across the state. Agriculture, but animal agriculture as well, from grower to chicken McNugget, all in one assembly line basically. So it is a big industry for the state, and again, where Reidsville fits in really well is some of our infrastructure. They use a lot of water, a lot of good clean water, which we have, and capacity to expand, and the wastewater obviously from those things can be kind of discharging a lot of different elements, and we're able to treat a lot of those and work with the industries closely with our public works department to make sure that they're protected and we're protected from any discharge, and we've got great relationships with those food processors and those kind of situations. So that's another thing we're proud of, that just a little intangible, doesn't show up on the map when somebody's looking at a site, but we have a very good program through our public works department for major industrial discharge users of our sewer system.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, water, sewer, the location, the workforce, business friendly, I guess, would be a way to sum it all up for our state and for Rockingham County and for Reidsville.
It is. I don't know what else to say. I think that term gets used an awful lot, but I don't know what else to call it. I can't think of anything better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know you're hard at work and always developing things and planning ahead, and looks like things are opening up a little bit with COVID, and feeling good about spring and the upcoming months, Jeff?
Well, yeah, we had a ribbon cutting at a new downtown business, the Regional Trading Post, last Friday, and it was sunny, and people were still obviously being cautious and safe, but we were gathered together on the sidewalk and cut a ribbon, and it just it felt really good to be out there with people you hadn't seen a whole lot in group size in a while. So we're excited about what's coming up. We have all of our summer concerts are planned out. We're anticipating being able to accommodate some crowd at some level wherever we're at. So hopefully people will continue to get vaccinated and take that opportunity when they get there. So yeah, we'll get our community back in order.
Sure. I was in Reidsville Trading Post last week talking to Amy. That's a nice addition to the downtown shops. And Reidsville has so many good places to shop, and it's always nice when new ones open. I was in several of them there and hadn't been in lately, and just a great to see new businesses opening, isn't it?
It is. I've been to Mount Airy a few times on official business with Main Street meetings, and always taking tours. I love their downtown. It's a good model for Reidsville. It's a little bigger, but just the overall how it's developed, they found some real champions who have developed property. And as it's continued to develop, the quality of the businesses have really elevated. So we've got a lot of vacant spaces where businesses like the Trading Post can come in. And Mishmash was there and moved down to a couple doors down, and their business has essentially doubled. And they run a really great business with. We've got a lot of good ones downtown already, but you see over time as your downtown strengthens, the higher end businesses will sometimes come in, rents go up, and it's not to scare anybody away. It's a good thing. It's good improvement in your community.
Sure, that's exactly right. All right, Jeff, always great to talk to you. Thanks a lot for your time and your hard work. We appreciate it.
Mike, I appreciate the outlet. Thank you.
Okay, talk to you soon. Jeff Garstka is Economic Development Director for the City of Reidsville. Our program is sponsored by Carpino Investments, a leader of community redevelopment in the Carolina Piedmont region. Get more information right there at carpinoinvestments.com, and get more information on the good things happening in Reidsville at rocketinreidsville.com.